Joining me now to go in depth, Irene Garcia, an investigative reporter for Judicial Watch. Her resume includes a stint at the Los Angeles Times. It is so good, Irene, to have you in studio. Meantime, via Skype, Sergio Sanchez, talk show host and program director of KURV and chairman of the new Republican Party, Skyping in from McAllen, Texas. Lady and gentlemen, we thank you both for being here. And Sergio, first to you on the ground. Are you hearing Border Patrol agents say it just doesn't make a difference anymore?
That frustrated and flippant remark, likely representative of the overall mood, I would say, of Border Patrol on the ground. And that has been the attitude likely for, in my opinion, for almost a year now. We have seen the slow simmer, which was created into a boil just a few weeks back with the huge influx of these kids coming in from Central America. It seems that no matter what they do, they just can't keep up with what's taking place. And up till now, to recently, no one seemed to really be paying attention.
That's the view from Sergio in McAllen. Irene, you have been covering this story nationwide. Is what Sergio said and what the video shown us borne out in your reporting?
Yes, absolutely. We are in touch with Border Patrol agents. Judicial Watch has an office in Arizona, and this is what we're hearing off the record from Border Patrol agents, because they have a blanket policy where they're forbidden from speaking to the media, to the mainstream media, or they'll get in trouble.
Sergio, in McAllen, you're there in Texas. We're now hearing reports that some of these processing centers for the wave of Central American illegals that have come in the country, some of these centers are going to be closed down. Have you seen any evidence of that so far?
I wish I could tell you, Jay, that I saw evidence of the San Antonio Lackland Air Force Base facility closed down or in the process of closing down. Unfortunately, Health and Human Services never allowed media, any type of media, to have access and take pictures and take video. Health and Human Services refused to provide interviews. They refused to provide access to the media, even by phone. So I cannot confirm. I just, you take the report from the feds at face value. That HHS facility that was set up in San Antonio at Lackland was a desperate response by the feds when these Border Patrol stations here on my border, the patrol stations, the processing stations, were overflowing with people, and at times with kids and women with kids, and specifically the kids who were thrown at our country on their own. They had to give them over to HHS within a 48-hour period, and they had thousands of these children they had no idea what to do with. So there was an emergency response by opening up Lackland, and the volume of children coming in on their own, in my conversations with local Border Patrol guys, yes, it has tapered off. It is not at the maximum that they saw, which was roughly 1,500. I think the peak was 2,000 people that they would catch a day, and that's the people that they would catch, 2,000 a day, and about a fifth to a third of them at most would be children that would be unaccompanied. Those numbers have tapered off to about 50% of peak. 50% of peak, it's still, according to them, is 80% above norm. So there's still a huge volume of people coming in. It's just not the ridiculous numbers that were reported just about a month ago.
And while we talk about your state of Texas, Sergio, and the state I represented in Congress, Arizona, being border states, we're seeing these illegals moved into the interior. That's why one of my former colleagues who represents Iowa, Congressman Steve King, weighed in on the issue of immigration and President Obama's handling of the crisis. Sergio, Irene, I'd ask you to listen along with me to what Steve King had to say, and then we'll get your reaction following this soundbite.
Congress has to sit down and have a serious look at the rest of this Constitution, and that includes that I word that we don't want to say. Please don't do that. There's too much at stake in this country to be deciding that you can take over the Constitution and write it at will.
Steve King talking not only about the border situation, but executive overreach and the I word, impeachment. He put a lot into that short soundbite. Before we get to the I word, Irene, that's a much more pleasant I word to bring up. Your name, Irene. You have covered this thing. We continue to hear talk of children again, what you found seems to be borne out in that Pew Research report. About 80% of these juveniles coming over, teenage males between 14 and 18. Irene, your take on what Steve King had to say, and also give us some info on what you've been able to find out more about the, quote, children who've come into the country.
Well, what we have found out is that now these children are going to be, they're being dispersed throughout the country. 780 were just transferred to Chicago. Over 350 are in Miami-Dade County, where the school board has just asked the federal government for money to now educate these kids whose backgrounds are really unknown. And Nebraska just received about 250. Border Patrol agents on the ground tell us that those shelters, there's kids that are young men, really, juvenile delinquents, some of them with potential gang ties. So it's not just little innocent kids that they're showing sleeping under the Red Cross blankets that the mainstream media is publishing. There's a lot more to the story than that.
And this story continues to expand. Sergio, a new report shows that countries around the world taking advantage of our open borders, including those areas where we've seen the deadly outbreak of Ebola. 71 people in total from 3 nations affected by Ebola. Now, we want to be clear, to our knowledge, the 71 people that have come in here, we don't believe they have symptoms. But Sergio, there you are sitting in McAllen, Texas, with all the other things you have to worry about. Are you concerned about the Ebola threat courtesy of illegals?
Mercifully, we have not been forced to deal with any type of epidemic of any major disease, including the more common ones, swine flu, tuberculosis, that are very common with illegal immigrants that are coming in. My quick answer to that is no. But the caveat is, I think I need to help you focus on the reality that there's a difference between the numbers that we report of people being caught and those who are not being caught, because the numbers that we're reporting of those who are caught represent perhaps a third, at best 40% of individuals that are coming to the country illegally. That represents 60-70% of individuals who make it into the country. And it's not just Central Americans. You can go back and speak with Border Patrol folks, and they will tell you consistently, people from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East are making it into the country illegally. They're coming in groups. So we have no idea for what reason they're coming in. We suspect that it is for employment, for opportunity, but anyone with nefarious intent has access to the border, especially now more than ever, because Border Patrol, they're busy babysitting, for lack of a better expression. So that's just an unknown. That's a major unknown factor, and quite troubling.
Sergio, Irene, about a minute and a half left. Irene, we'll go to you for this question, then I want to go to Sergio on the political perspective. Do you buy the notion that this onslaught of illegals is in fact over, that the numbers are drying up, or do you think we're going to see a spike again? I
think that, unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the United States government for information. These are figures they're providing. Nobody really knows the true story. It's just trickling in from Border Patrol agents that are actually going against their orders to try to get the information out because they've been told not to speak.
And because of this cover-up, Sergio, the political aspects. Steve King talked about impeachment earlier on this program. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, says no. What do you think is going to happen because of the president's overreach here if he grants an amnesty?
If he grants an amnesty, it would play completely against the president, and more importantly, it doesn't affect the president. I mean, he's a lame duck. It would definitely hurt his party, in my opinion. There was a reference earlier in your report to a policy change. I believe it was the president who made reference to a policy change. There is a policy change. It is incumbent on the president to act. He has acted, but I believe in the best interest of the future for his party. There is,
and that's the problem. Sergio, got to stop you there. Thanks for your input. Look forward to having you back, Irene, as always. And the word is still out there, impeachment. The question we're asking, should our president be impeached? We want your opinion. Tell us what you think at our website, newsmax.com/Obama poll to weigh in. We will have results at the conclusion of our program, but America's Forum continues now.